Hello everyone and welcome to our DEAP's workshop on scholarships and the cost of university.
Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where I am today, the Gunditjmara people. I'd like to acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging. I would like to acknowledge anyone of Torres Strait Islander descent that is watching this right now. And I would like to also acknowledge that this land always has been and always will be Indigenous land. And I will extend this acknowledgement to wherever you are today.
So today we're going to be going through a few things. Specifically, what we'll be going through is the cost of university. What is a CSP? Help and what it is. Different types of scholarships you can apply for. And where to find them.
So who are we? My name is Michaela and I am a student at Deakin University in Warrnambool and on the cloud. I'm studying a Master of Communication and I'm specialising in digital media, which is a lot of fun. I get to research how people use social media. And I also work for Deakin, so this is one of my jobs that I'm doing right now.
Thanks, Michaela. I'm Lara, so I'm based at the Burwood campus in Deakin. And I did a law and arts degree, and at the moment I'm hoping that my PhD application gets approved so I can continue my research in sociology.
Fingers crossed, I'm sure you'll be great.
Thanks. So let's get into that first part about what the cost of university actually is. So costs can include a lot of things, like your tuition fees, your materials, so that's your books, your computers, your pens, accommodation if you're having to move for uni. And they can vary based on the length of your course, what different subjects you take, the course itself, which university you choose to go to, how long it takes to complete that course. And the cost of textbooks might vary per subject, so some might be really expensive. Your student amenities fee, and you don't pay per year like you do in high school, you actually pay per unit. And the average cost of a bachelor degree is between $15,000 and $33,000. So for example, for my degree, so I did a double degree in law and arts. My law units were all about $1,000 each. My arts units were slightly cheaper. And that's just because I had more contact hours for my law units, and that's why they were more expensive.
And so I guess it's important just to clarify that when we say units, university, a unit is a subject. So university we call subjects units.
Yeah.
So what is a CSP? You might have seen this around if you have been looking at courses online that you might be interested in. So a CSP is what we call a Commonwealth supported place. It's the government basically provides some of the funding for you and us to go to university, which is great. We are, however, required to pay the balance either upfront or as a deferred loan called a HECS. And a HECS is the acronym for a scheme known as the Higher Education Contribution Scheme. A CSP, Commonwealth Supported Place, is available at all public universities, such as Deakin and some private providers. And all eligible domestic students will have a CSP, which is great. So how it works, the Australian government subsidises a Commonwealth supported place by paying for part of the fees directly to the university. A subsidy amount is not a loan and you don't have to pay that back. So you pay for what is not covered by the government. So we have a bit of an example for you, the difference between a CSP and a full fee paying. This is based on 2019. So for an education degree, for a subject, a Commonwealth supported place cost would be $820. If you're a full fee paying student, this same subject would cost you $2,789. So when you have the government subsidy, the full cost minus the government subsidy, so the government's going to pay $1,969, which is fantastic. So then only $820 goes on to what we call your HECS. So this is all you pay, the $820. It goes onto a HEX, which we'll talk about later, and that's the amount, a loan amount that you'll pay back later. So importantly, who's eligible? Australian citizens are eligible, New Zealand citizens, you just have to double check your eligibility, permanent residents, and permanent humanitarian visa holders. For course eligibility, all undergraduate degrees have a CSP and some postgraduate degrees.
So the next part is going into help and what it is. So HELP is the umbrella term for those loans that are provided by the Australian government to assist students to defer their payment of their tuition fees. So that's also known as the student contribution amount, and you might see that language, but it's basically just your tuition fees. So instead of paying your fees when you enroll in uni, you pay them upfront. The amount is listed as a debt against your tax file number, which you then repay when you start working. So it sounds a little bit scary, but it's very straightforward. And there are 4 different types of help schemes that we're going to go through. So the first one is called HEX Help, and it's probably the one that most of you are going to have and encounter. And this is just a loan scheme to help those Commonwealth supported students, so people with a CSP, to pay their student contribution amounts through a loan. Then we have fee help. So this is what's going to apply to students who don't have a CSP. So they're full fee paying students, and this helps them pay their tuition fees. You can also have SA help, which some of you might use, and this assists eligible students to pay for all or part of their student services and amenities fee. So that's a fee that goes towards providing services at the university, like counselling, medical services, days out, that kind of thing. And then you also have OS help, and this helps eligible Commonwealth supported students pay their overseas study expenses. So if you want to do an exchange, you might look at OS help as well. So you need to be enrolled in a course that leads to a degree to be eligible for help. And there are certain citizenship requirements. So if you're an Australian citizen, permanent humanitarian visa holder, or you are a New Zealand citizen who meet long-term residency requirements. Just note that you are going to need your tax file number to defer your fees using a help loan, because your loan is going to be attached to your tax. So how are you going to pay your help loan back? It's not something you need to worry about straight away. It's a deferred payment, but you're going to pay it through your tax. So what will happen is once you finish uni and you start earning money that is above the compulsory repayment threshold, you'll start making repayments even if you are still studying. So if you're working full-time and studying part-time, you might be paying it back. And that repayment threshold is adjusted each year. So for this year, you have to earn over $47,000, and you will start paying that back. And you don't actually need to worry too much about paying it back. It will automatically come out as a tax. So you won't even see the money disappear from when you're getting paid. Some things to remember. There are lots of support options available for you to fund your university experience. You don't have to pay those fees upfront. You can get a deferred loan like these help schemes, and you only are going to pay it back when you earn over a certain amount, and it's just going to come out of your tax, so you don't need to stress about it.
Something that a lot of people talk about at uni is scholarships. So what are scholarships? Scholarship is a financial support to help students with the cost of going to university. So there are 2 types of scholarships that you can get. One is access and equity scholarships that are available for students who are overcoming particular hardships. And there are merit-based scholarships, which are for rewarding achievement. So it's fantastic to know that not all scholarships are just going to those that are getting the highest grades. So access and equity scholarships, like I said, are those scholarships available for students who are overcoming hardships. So there are 5 different categories, which include geographic, personal, financial, medical, and campus. So personally, being from a regional area, I actually get one of these access and equity scholarships, which has been really super helpful. So an example is the Deakin Student Support Scholarship. This is actually the one that I get. So it's a payment between $1,000 to $10,000 for 1 year or duration of the course. So it can help pay for books and all sorts of things. A merit scholarship, which is your rewards-based scholarship. Categories for that include academic, sporting, community service, and leadership. So an example is the Vice Chancellor's Academic Excellence Scholarship. So that's a scholarship where 100% of your tuition fee payment, $5,000 cash per year, and inclusion in the Vice Chancellor's Professional Excellence. So to get this particular scholarship, you would need to have achieved a 95% ATAR or above, or be the dux of your school. So the Deakin Scholarship for Excellence is at $5,000 towards your tuition fees or cash per year. And for this one, you need an 85 ATAR or above, or have demonstrated some sort of achievement in leadership, elite sports, some form of community service, volunteer activities, the arts, or any other achievement. So if you're doing those things, remember that you can always put these down for your scholarships. There are also scholarships for asylum seekers or refugees, and these assist in providing access to higher education for those students that are seeking asylum, for students from refugee backgrounds who are residing in Australia. And the eligibility for these particular scholarships is that the students are on a temporary visa who could not otherwise afford the cost of university study. So this can be available to international students who hold a temporary protection visa or a safe haven enterprise visa, or to an asylum seeker on a bridging visa A or a bridging visa E. An example of this one is the Sanctuary Scholarship, which covers 100% of the tuition fees, $6,000 per year for living and study costs, and English academic preparation course if required, which is fantastic support. There's also something that's called a donor scholarship. So this donor is, for example, a partnership institution from industry that may donate money. So an example we have here is a Southwest Academic Scholarship at the Warrnambool campus, $7,000 over 2 years. This would go to a domestic student enrolled full-time at Deakin's Warrnambool campus, on campus. They must be enrolled in a full-time Commonwealth supported place. So it's really important that you do check the university's websites for these different kinds of scholarships. And you can also see externally funded scholarships. They'll be listed on most university sites as well. So finding these scholarships, did you want to cover that one? Clara?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in. So where do you go to look for scholarships and how do you apply for them? So first thing to note is that VTAC can apply on your behalf for a lot of institutions. If you've already done a CEAS application, a lot of the evidence you're going to need for your scholarship application is already going to be there. So VTAC can apply. This isn't for all the scholarships, but this is for a number of them. And that's at Deakin, La Trobe, Monash, RMIT, Swinburne, and Victoria Uni. If you want to go to somewhere else, you might need to look separately. But the important thing to note is it is one application. So you don't have to do multiple applications. So it's very easy. Let's see how easy it is. So you go to the VTAC website, you go to the scholarships page, and they step it all out there in a very straightforward manner. So you'll get to this page and it'll go through how to apply for those scholarships, what evidence you need, what your eligibility criteria is. And basically you can just have a look through this on your own time, but it's very easy. And you can have a look at the access schemes as well, which might be something else you're interested in too. You can also apply directly to the institution. Some of the scholarships won't be available through that VTAC single application because there are a lot of scholarships. Some of them will also have different closing dates to the VTAC one, so it's just something to be aware of. And what we suggest you do is also apply directly to the institution And this is just going to maximize your opportunity for getting a scholarship. So if you wanted to go to Deakin and apply for a scholarship there, Deakin has a scholarship finder page, and you basically just click through what kind of study you're doing, what type of student you are, so that's a domestic or an international student, what kind of scholarship you're after, whether it's a merit or an access and equity scholarship. And it just is going to list all the scholarships that you might want to apply for. As we've noted, they might have different closing dates for these ones, so make sure you're aware of that and make sure you write them down somewhere so you're applying on time.
So we have 5 tips for applying for scholarships. They are research, prepare, time management, support, writing it out and checking it. So did you want to explain all these tips, Lara?
Yeah, absolutely. So first one, research should be pretty obvious. Make sure you know what the scholarship is, what they're looking for in a candidate for that scholarship. Make sure it fits what you want out of a scholarship as well. Prepare your application. Make sure you've answered all the questions that they want you to answer. So whether that's for a merit scholarship, you might be talking about your academic achievement or your sporting achievement. If it's an access and equity scholarship, you might be talking about a particular circumstance you've experienced, and you might be talking about how you've overcome that or how that's impacted your education. With your time management, scholarship applications can take a little while. Some of them want you to write an essay for them. Some of them, you might even need to do an interview depending on what it is for. So make sure you're aware of the dates that they're due in. Make sure you have everything prepared by those dates. And as always, make sure that if you need any supporting documentation from other people, you've gotten onto them as well. We'd also recommend you get some support with this. So maybe having a teacher go through it with you, proofread that application. Some scholarships might need some other evidence as well. Write out your scholarship application. Make sure you've written it out in Word, you've checked for grammar, you've proofread it. It's in the right character limit. Get someone else to check it for you and then apply. And it's worth it because there are a lot of scholarships out there and some of them don't get awarded because people don't apply for them. So apply for everything you think you might be able to get.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real limit for how many scholarships you can apply for. So apply for as many as you possibly can. Your chances of getting one's pretty high. There are some important dates that you need to take note of. So your C's application and your scholarship applications due the same day, Friday, 8th of October at 5 p.m. So make sure you do take note of that. And that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this. We really hope that you found it helpful.
Yeah, good luck with your scholarship applications.